celebration, Tigers sweeping the nation at the box. Well, let's go! A baseball at the box. Let's go to the box. Oh, baby. Join me at the box. Oh, baby. Tigers to the top. Baseball at...
All right. Welcome in to another show of Chasing Omaha with Season, episode number 6. So this past weekend in the Southeastern Conference, your fighting LSU Tiger baseball team hit the road for a marquee showdown in Nashville against the Vanderbilt Commodores baseball, and it delivered everything you expect from elite SEC baseball. In a hostile environment, LSU was tested from the very start. Friday night turned into a wild, high-scoring battle, and despite a huge offensive push, including a clutch 3-run double from Seth Dardar during the LSU's comeback, the Tigers came up just short in a 13-12 thriller. Heartbreak loss for the Tigers on Friday night. Then on Saturday, Vanderbilt took control. The Commodores got a dominant start on the mound, holding LSU to just 3 runs over 7 innings and secured the series with a 11-3 win. But LSU didn't fold. On Sunday, the Tigers showed exactly who they are. The offense exploded for 16 runs, their biggest output of the weekend, as LSU pounded out hits up and down the lineup to avoid the sweep and leave Nashville with some momentum. Individually, LSU had a couple standout performances. I think Seth Dardar played a key role offensively. On the mound, Davin Sharon delivered when LSU needed it most, earning the win in the series finale. So while Vanderbilt takes the series on their home field, LSU proves something too, that they're not going anywhere. So break it down a little bit. And to do that, we're joined by a special guest, former LSU player Adrian
Antonini.
Anthony, okay. Former Tiger who knows exactly what it means to play in big-time SEC series and compete in environments like this. So great to have you on the show tonight, Adrian. If you can, just introduce yourself a little bit, let the audience know who you are and all that type of good stuff.
I'm Adrian Antonini. Thanks for having me to begin with. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you guys remembering me. You know, like
Yeah.
It's been quite a while, you know. But I played at LSU 91 through 94. Was part of the first 2 national championship teams, 91 and 93. And caught first 3 years and then became what everybody, you know, when I went on to the mound, and everybody remembers the whole wild thing when I became a closer. And, you know, after getting drafted and not signing, and then going back and getting drafted again, and then signing with the Phillies.
So you played 3 years as a catcher, and then your final year you went to a closer?
Correct.
How that worked out? You always pitched, or you kind of just picked it up?
I had never pitched in my life.
And you just picked it up, and that year you ran with it?
I was asked to because, you know, Rick Green had already been gone, and we had a transition year, and I chose not to sign. And Tim Lanier was in the wings waiting. Scott Berardi was in the wings. We had some good players waiting. And, you know, as we always say, you know, we don't rebuild, we reload. So therefore, I had to make a move. If I didn't want to sign, I had to make a move. And I bled purple and gold, and I did not want to leave. I wanted to make a run for a 3rd title. And we made it to the series again in 94. You know, I knew I would I felt, you know, let's just put it like that. I felt that and I really believed that I would get an opportunity to play pro ball. That wasn't in question for me. I just wanted to do something historic at the time and win three titles.
Well, I'm glad to have you, a former player in the Skip Bertman days, to talk some LSU baseball with us tonight. And y'all won them championships back in the day where it was only a 1-game series. The championship was only 1 game back in the day. Was that more pressure to get it done?
I wouldn't say that it's unfair to the current teams to say that it was harder, or or even to us to say it was easier now. Yeah, I mean, harder or we're harder or easier any era. I think that's unfair, but it was a lot of pressure because you couldn't have a bad game. The final game was your game 7.
That's right.
Nowadays you can have a bad opening day and win your next 2 and still win the title. If it goes bad that one day, you lost your title.
I know, that's what's crazy about it. It's
it's good and bad.
Yeah. So I had Rick Green on last week, and he's from the Miami area, same area as you. Did y'all know each other growing up playing in prep ball? Oh, yeah. Y'all played against each other, or what?
We ran across each other. They were in the same district.
Okay, same district.
So we ran across each other, and Louis Garcia, who was also at LSU. He was from Miami. He's a Miami guy. Christopher Columbus. I mean, we had Coach Bergman had a nice pipeline coming in from Miami at that time.
That was going to be my next question, because I knew Bergman came from Miami. I figured it had to have been Bergman's philosophy to grab all y'all type of talent from that area, right?
He did his best. I mean, he really did. I mean, it started off with Manny Mantrana, who went on to be a coach at St. Thomas University, and then went to University of Texas Pan American, and Robbie Smith, another 2 great guys. Robbie Smith, who was a Miami Southridge product. That's where I went to high school my first 2 years. But Robbie Smith was another unbelievable player, a pitcher also. His brother was the ace of the Miami Hurricanes when they won the title in the early 80s, Danny Smith. So he came from a line of great baseball players, and Danny played pro ball also. Robbie played pro ball. I think he was with the Twins. Mm-hmm. And then he eventually became a police officer and, had a tragedy happen and he passed away. But
one more question on the Bergman days. What was Bergman's main philosophy? Was it pitching, defense, pitching, or offensive? Like, what was his main guru? I know he was the head guy. He was
a pitching guy. I mean, yeah, he knew pitching inside and out. But in fairness, once again, he knew it. He was phenomenal just in every aspect of the game. We all joke around and say we went to LSU and got a Harvard baseball education.
I like that one. Well, since you're a former closer, I guess we could jump into that Friday night heartbreak performance. Gavin Guidry takes the mound late to try to close it out for the Tigers and gives up a walk-off home run down to the last out. What a game that was, though. Back and forth early on. Vanderbilt explodes kind of to take a big lead in the middle of the game. LSU just doesn't give up, fights back, comes all the way up. They score 3 runs on 3 pass wild pitches in the 8th inning, maybe I want to say, or 7th, one of those late innings.
Late innings.
Yeah. So they scored 3 runs and 12 pitches, I remember. They take the lead. Man, just Gavin Guidry just left one hanging, huh? Left one hanging a little bit late right there.
Well, I mean, you also have to think that's his bread and butter pitch, right? I mean, he puts people.
He got a lot of drop on it.
I mean, that's the pitch. You see him on the mound, not afraid to talk a little bit,
right?
When he throws it, it reminds me of for those of who remember the old teams, it's very much like Scott Schultz's hammer that he had. Scott Schultz is a 12-6 curve, and Guidry has that nasty hook, and he lives and dies by it at times. And when you leave it up, it gets punished. But I think the story goes beyond just isolating one player, because let's face it, I mean, both teams had struggles with throwing strikes.
Yeah.
I mean, what was there? 21 walks, something, 21 or 22 walks for the game. I think we had 11 and they either had 11 or they had 10. So we're sitting at very, very shaky pitching, very, the big theme seems to be that it was shaky pitching. Not
walks.
being able to throw strikes, not being able to put people away at the right time. And me being a catcher also for 3 years, I can empathize with the guys behind the plate too. And you're not going to get those calls when there's guys not consistently around the plate and throwing 96, 97 and plus nowadays, right? So it creates an environment where the catcher's on the edge because he's not getting strikes. That's how pass balls start to happen, or wild pitches, however it is that you want to call them, because sometimes, we get as catchers, we get hit with the pass ball when in essence it's really not a pass ball. It was a wild pitch, but because we didn't block it or what have you, it becomes a pass ball. But I think that's actually the story for the weekend. I mean, you lose 2 out of 3 to a good Vanderbilt team. They're a solid team. I think LSU's in a situation also where they're not playing LSU baseball. And I think everybody understands that and respects that. And the pressure is mounting.
Tremendously. The pressure is on.
And you're still talking about, I hear people that chatter from the side, even, just friends here in North Atlanta, and you hear the chattering about how, well, they're not kids, they're pros now pretty much because they're the NIL deals. Now let's face it, they're kids. They're 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. I mean, they're young men. They're trying to become the men that they're going to be. And in this day and age, they hear the chatter. They feel the chatter to some extent coming from the bleachers.
Yeah.
And it's mounting. You're talking about a team that's won 2 titles in the past 3 years, and you're struggling. So
I was late in that game before we gave up the home run to the cleanup hitter, the 3-hole hitter. I think he had 11 home runs. He had hit a home run earlier in the game, and he was up to 11 home runs on the season. We decided to go after him, and we strike him out. I remember I think it was a backwards K. And then the cleanup hitter comes up. First base was unoccupied. Do you agree with the decision to go after the heavy hitters with first base unoccupied? You trust Jay Johnson and Yeski in that decision whenever Guidry went against the 3-hole and 4-hole hitter? I think they had a runner on third, 2 outs at the time. And then the home run he gave up to the home run to the cleanup hitter.
It's easy to play, right? To play that Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
Right.
I
can only tell you from the perspective from where I would be with them.
Okay.
As a guy who's done both sides of what we're talking about right now, being behind the plate for national title games.
Yeah.
And being on the bump at the series or, in the SEC tournaments. Okay. I know Guidry has the stuff to beat that guy. Okay. And doesn't matter. Perfect example I'm going to give you. Basically what I'm saying is it doesn't matter who you have at the plate. If you execute, chances are you're going to get the guy out. And what I mean by that is even the greatest of hitters, your Todd Walkers, your Russ Johnsons, your Eddie Furness, and so forth that have played, you're looking at guys making out 60% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's we're talking about guys who were the greatest, arguably the greatest, at least in SEC, correct?
Right.
I mean, statistically
speaking.
I don't think this Vanderbilt guy is going to be one of those. and then you have a guy like Guidry who has been there, who has put guys away, who has done his job. Do you give him the ball to close out the game? Yeah, I'm okay with that. And then with the analytics they have going right now, right? With the analytics they have going right now, I mean, they went with what they felt was best. Did it work out? No. But
yeah, Jay Johnson's big on the analytics too. I mean, he won 2 championships.
You can't argue with it. I mean, sometimes, don't get me wrong. I sit there in the stands. When I come into Baton Rouge I was already in Baton Rouge this year for opening series. I went to Jacksonville, so I've already seen them in person.
Mm-hmm.
And I sit there and just like every other fan, sometimes wonder what's going on. But I have to take a back seat, saying, this guy won 2 titles.
Right. Right. I think we can trust him and give him some leadway on decision making.
Yeah, I mean, he won 2 titles. I mean, has already done more than his predecessor. Not the big guy, but he's already done more than his predecessor did in 17 years?
Something like that, right?
So I got to trust the guy. And he, you know what? Jay's a hard worker. I mean, he's open with us. I mean, he's allowed the alumni to come back to him, to the program. We were feeling quite disconnected, and I'm glad that Jay's there. And I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. The guy knows what he's doing.
I'm glad he's allowing the former players to feel more welcome and connected. That's always important to me, as being an alumni of the school. So I appreciate all that type of stuff he's doing.
Yeah,
so LSU was 1 pitch away from actually winning the series. It's a different talk on the team.
That's right.
They went from preseason number 1 to now unranked, but I think the talent's still there. I don't want to give up on the team. 1 pitch away from winning that series. That's baseball, right?
That is 100% baseball. I mean, look, the offense, when you're looking at the big picture, the offenses will come around. They are a legit offense, and they proved it that Sunday. They've had moments. Once again, we're sitting at 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are pressing. They hear it, they feel it, they're reading it online, even though they can say they're not, and they can say they're staying away from it. But it is happening, and they'll get around to it. My question is, what they thought was very deep pitching staff, because that was what the biggest thing was. Hey, this could be the deepest pitching staff we've ever had. And I was thinking the same thing. People were, even within the backside, the alumni guys were saying, man, this is better than the 93 team, or better than the 98 team, or this is the Arms 2017. They're deeper, we believe. Well, right now they're not showing it, but the talent is there.
Okay.
So are they squeezing it? They
don't feel as dominant.
Well, that's one thing. It's funny because I'm blessed. I have a fiance that she is very, very much into baseball, just as much as I am. Probably, I'll be honest with you, maybe more. I mean, she's funny. She's fantastic. And she starts talking. We don't have a Paul Skeens. We don't have the dominant pitcher. You don't have that guy that, and I'm just sitting there laughing because she's right. And
we don't have that really dominant.
No, she says you don't have your Anderson. You don't have the guy that you're just going to hand the ball to, or Ianson. You don't have the one guy or 2 guys that you say, okay, Friday, Saturday. Friday, Saturday. Okay, we're going to go into the series with the idea that we've got 2 out of 3 for sure. All we have to do is hit, because we're going to be in the game. So we, at this moment, do we have the talent? I'm sure we do. But at this moment, we haven't seen it.
The starting pitching is not going deep enough. A lot of these starting pitching performances and these outings, they go in about like 4 innings. 4 innings. I think the longest maybe all year was maybe a 7th inning performance from Cooper Moore. And that might have been only 1 outing though. I'm seeing like just 3 innings, 4 innings from the starting pitcher getting pulled, giving up about 3 hits, 3 runs, roughly 3-4 runs, about a 4th inning. We're not going deep enough, I feel like, with the starting pitching. The starting pitching don't feel as dominant. I know we broke the record with pitching with opening weekend strikeouts this year, and we broke last season's record on opening weekend. So we felt like the talent, is there. It's just the starting pitching, I feel like it's not going deep enough.
No, I agree with you. I think the guys aren't. Once again, I think it has an extreme amount of pressure that they are under. And I'm not trying to defend them the whole time.
Yeah.
Because they are making mistakes. We all know that. I mean, you can't hide behind that. That is happening. But as they started to lose games and the chatter started, you could see, for instance, a perfect example would be a young man that I saw the first time, and I'm like, wow, this guy's legit. I mean, he came from Grand Canyon, and I was a little concerned. I mean, you're coming from Grand Canyon to the SEC, and now Yorkie, when I see him for 2 weekends, I'm like, wow, this guy's legit. This guy takes pitches. He's the kind of guy that if he takes a pitch and they call it a strike, somebody needs to look in and say, was it a strike? You're going to question, because the guy has a great eye. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing he's got 2 strikeouts, and you could see now he's taking pitches that I would have thought earlier, the first 2 times I saw him, he wasn't taking. He was driving them. he was taking big cuts. He looked like the big Poppy that everybody was talking about early on, right?
Big York you talking about?
Yeah, the big Yorkie. So I mean,
and then he kind of lost some consistency a little bit,
right? And I think that has to do with the pressure. I'm not saying that he hasn't played under pressure, but has he played under SEC LSU pressure?
Right, it's showing. I think.
Of course. I mean, everybody plays freely when you're having a great game.
Yeah.
But when you have a bad one, and then all of a sudden have 2 bad ones, and then you have, you hit the ball square against, Southeastern, and it doesn't get through, you're like, oh man, I'm jinxed. And then before you know it, you're sitting 1 for 17.
Hold up. He's 1 for 17 right now. I didn't look up his stats.
No. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean,
okay.
If you have a great hitter, a guy who you feel is the strong part of your lineup, and it happens. And a perfect example, Milam last year, wasn't it last year? He was struggling late in the season.
Right. Yep.
He was struggling, and he actually went. I mean, this. Right, you would say, oh, he's struggling. He just went under 300. But there was a time last year that he was at 280, and it was SEC weekend, SEC, tournament. But I kept saying, I'm like, hey, these are the guys. I was saying last year personally, I'm like, the 3 guys that I want to see get going, and we win the title. And once again, like I went with my fiance and we go to every year. Now we're going to Hoover, and it's fantastic watching. And I would tell her, last year I told her, I said, the guys that I'm worried about, if I'm on the other side, there's 3 guys that I worry about more than anybody. For me, it was Curiel, Milam, and Fry.
Yep.
And she was like, well, why not Jones? And I kept explaining her my ass. She's like, oh, I understand, I said, from a pitcher-catcher perspective, this is why, Fry's a freak. I mean, he's a guy that can do it all. He can put a charge in one. He can double. I mean, he can hit a ball in the gap and turn it into a triple. Yeah. He scares me. That guy scares me.
He was athletic. I wish Fry would have come back, man. I've seen lately he's doing good in the minor leagues or whatever he's at. I've seen he's
he's in the minor leagues. Yeah.
I've seen every now and then I see clips of him getting a hit or a home run or something. So he probably made the right decision, but man, that would have been.
He made the right decision. I met his parents, and I'll tell you one thing about Fry. Fry was my favorite player for one reason and one reason only. And I don't mean, and I don't pick guys because to me it was different. He's the only guy that I've ever said, since I left, oh, that's my favorite player. He, in this era of NIL, he struggled his first 2 years at LSU, but stayed. He could have left. He could have chosen to, hey, I'm not going to go here. I'm going to go to Auburn. I'm going to go to Alabama, where I don't have the pressure of being a Louisiana boy. I've already had a couple bad years, or at least one bad year. I didn't play as well as I should have. And then, an injury. And so, but he stayed. He stayed to be part of the solution. And he took off and earned it. And I met and talked to his father SEC weekend, to his mom and dad. And I told them exactly that. I said, your son is my favorite out of everybody since I have left. And I told them exactly what I told you and why. And I felt, both of them, mom was crying, and dad's eyes were watering. And because coming from a former player that they saw, saying that about their son, and it was the honest truth. I mean, he didn't run. He stayed there, and he did what we as LSU Tigers do. We fight through it and figure it out.
Fight like Tigers.
Fight like Tigers.
Fight like Tigers. So this year, the players that are getting all the media coverage, it seems like it's Brown, Curiel, Milam. Who do you think is going to have to step up that's not one of those key guys, you think? Maybe that's kind of already in the lineup? Who's someone that's going to have to carry some weight?
Well, I think I think the Milam, the Milams, the Curios, they're time tested. They're going to come around. They're fine. Brown is just playing ridiculously right now. He's playing well, and I'd love to see that, especially after what happened his freshman year in North Carolina. That was tough. That was tough.
You're right.
I'm sitting here. Okay, here we go. We got it. No, he just did that. No. So, but I think he's going to be a big guy, but he's showing he can. Dardar is a great surprise.
Okay.
Mr. Dardar Banks. I'm sure he's heard that a million times, about as much as I've heard, yo, Rocky, yo, Adrian. Right?
he got a Louisiana name, bro. Dardar.
Yeah. But I think he's doing a great job. I want to see how Cerna develops.
Me too. He showed me some potential. Maybe I think it was last week whenever he hit the grand slam.
And he's a big kid. He's a
245, 6'2", maybe whatever.
He actually, when I saw him up close at Jacksonville, I was telling my fiance, I said, that kid reminds me of me, just bigger. When I, because when I went to LSU, I was 6'3", 220.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy's even bigger.
On top of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big boy. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a big dude, and I'd like to see him, how he develops. I think the catchers are solid. I love Stanfield.
Speaking of Stanley, he made his return this weekend.
Yeah.
He did pretty good. He got a few hits.
Yeah.
Got a few hits, played his normal role. I like Stanley.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, Bertman used to always talk about it's always got to be that one guy that you don't you're not expecting, that's got to step up and make, run with it a little bit. Who's going to pick up, because Fry, for instance, an example, I'm going back to Fry. Fry last year was steady, but then Jones had that bad run, right, where he was like, striking out a lot, and they'd gotten his number. He was pressing, as great as he was, and as great as the history he has at LSU. He was pressing, he was struggling, and Fry all of a sudden takes a step up. And as Bertman would say, he graduated.
Fry graduated, boy.
He graduated and came into his own. And he carried. He's at that point, he basically said, "Hey, what is it? Here, hold my drink." And he goes, "I'll carry you." So while Milam was getting going, while these guys were all, he came through. And you're going to need guys like that throughout the season, because you're going to have your Milams. You're going to have, hopefully not, but realistically it is baseball, right? So you're going to have your ups and downs. Hopefully there's guys, when they're having the big guys, the guys you count on, have when your big guy, your Milams or your Curiel, your Yorkie, those guys, when they're having their down, the other guys are having their up to keep you steady. Because if everybody starts to come down at the wrong time, you could be out in a regional. Yeah.
Yep. You're gonna have to start shaking back and start winning some of these series so we could get a national seed.
Right. Well, that'll happen. I really believe, I really believe it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But, we need to throw strikes. You can't keep getting behind pitchers. I mean, one thing I don't understand in baseball right now, what's going on, I understand analytics. I respect the analytics. You're throwing 98 miles an hour. 3-2 count. Bring it. I mean, throw it.
Yeah.
I don't revert back to, I'm sure you were too young to know, in 96 or 96, 97, in the series, and I'm talking about major leagues, you had a situation, New York Yankees against Atlanta. Mark Wohlers throwing at the time an unprecedented over 100, 101, 100 miles an hour. They even had a commercial of him. Hey, I throw 100 miles an hour. Like they went through the whole staff. I'm Greg Maddux. I'm the wizard, And then finally he finishes the commercial by saying, and I throw 100 miles an hour. Well, they lose the series because he throws a 3-2 slider to Jim Lawrence and gives up a home run. If you're throwing that hard, challenge guys.
Okay.
Rub it up on their hands. It's not just about throwing it. Hey, and if you have to not throw 100 and you have to throw 93 to get the movement down and in to, run a two-seamer, then do it. Don't go to your second or third best pitch to trick them. Because statistically speaking, they're going to make it out. I mean, over the long haul of a game, the greatest of hitters, even if they're hitting 350, I think that's pretty fair to say, the best hitters in the SEC, top to bottom, let's just say the top 10, 350. Now add movement at 98 miles an hour or movement at 93. Well, that number, that 65% out based on the statistics, it shoots up. Now it goes up to 72% out. I don't know. I like my chances. But if you're walking somebody because are you trying to rip and grip or grip and rip, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
And you're just looking to grip and rip, then there is no defense. I can't defend from the other. I can't defend as a shortstop or an outfielder. I can't defend the walk.
And we don't really got that. Like we said, we don't really got the dominant arm, so we're not really relying so much on punch outs. We're actually relying on defense. So walking, you're just putting base runners on
Your freebies, giving freebies, and then you're running into a situation where you've seen already. You have walk, hit batsman, error.
Hits batsman, error, boom, 2-3 runs.
Yeah, and then finally you get that big hit. You have a walk, an error, then the double, and then they switch pitchers, a hit batsman, walk, 3-run home run.
That's what's been going on with the pitching.
Yeah. Instead of just, hey, let's attack the zone.
Stay ahead of the counts.
You have the arms, right? You have the coaching staff. So the talent isn't, I don't question the talent. I don't question the coaching. I think what's going on is just, guys aren't making the plays. Guys aren't pitching the way they should. I think it's a combination of a lot. But they're going to get it around. I mean, they'll turn it around. And I think it has a lot to do, like I said, I really, really do believe it has a lot to do with the pressure is mounting. It gets tough. It happened to me. I'll tell you, in 92.
LSU, boy.
Well, it happened to me in 92. I mean, I don't think I ever recovered from it. I struggled because in 92, I was, as a matter of fact, you just read in Coach Bertman's book. I mean, it talks about how I was hitting at that time when the book came out, I was hitting right at 400. But I ended up hitting 228 that year. Because once I got into that slump, I couldn't get out of it.
It's so hard to get out of a slump. Sometimes you got to bunt, huh?
Sometimes you got to bunt. Or... I couldn't run out of. I couldn't run out of sight in a week. That wasn't going to help.
I know what you mean, though, dude. Sometimes those slumps, woo.
And so
what you do, those slumps be hitting on you. I know what you mean.
And then I didn't hit a home run. I wasn't hitting home runs. I just started struggling. I was hitting doubles early on in Florida. I mean, I was doing well. And all of a sudden, when I went into the slump, it became, hey, not only am I slumping, they're like, dude, we need you need to hit that 3-run jack. So now I'm pressing, trying to hit a home run in those situations.
All that combined.
So it became okay, now I'm not hitting, but I need to hit in that situation. And since I'm not hitting, I got to hit it out. So at least I go 1 for 4 with a 3-run home run.
Yeah.
And it ends up being 0 for 4 with 2 Ks and 2 weak ground balls because I chased a bad pitch.
I got 2 questions for baseball. Do you feel like in baseball at any given moment, anybody could be a hero? And also, anybody could be a hero at any given spot. That's what I love about baseball. The 9-hole hitter could come through in the 9th inning or something, Also, with all these years of watching baseball, do you know that saying, you learn something new in baseball every day?
Yep.
Do you still feel like you've seen everything at this point? Or do you still learn something on occasion?
Yeah, every game you see something, and
it's crazy how that works out. Huh?
Just see something, or it go good and bad now.
Yeah.
Right. Good and bad.
Maybe the umpire, maybe it might be a call, a weird thing, all kinds of crazy stuff.
And in this day and age, with all the new things that are coming out, the green bag at first base, that's kind of weird.
At first, I didn't like it. Now I understand it. I get it now.
I still can't get it, but I understand that why they're doing it.
Yeah, the traditionalness of a baseball player just wants one bag.
And I think what is the reason? Safety, right?
Yeah, to stop the collisions is what they say at first base.
Were there that many collisions at first base?
Not really.
How many have we prevented here?
Every so often you would see one, basically.
Yeah, once every few games.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about individually a team. Did it happen every day in the world of baseball? Of course it did. But for any one team, did it happen every day? No.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they're saying, oh, the collisions, somebody doing something dirty. Well, then address that.
Yeah.
Address, if somebody does something dirty, address that situation. But it's almost like everybody being punished to some extent for the actions of the few. So we're going to change the game because some guys decide to step on the first baseman's ankles, or a pitch goes, a ball gets thrown that, sails a little bit and there's a collision at first. I understand there's a lot of money involved, especially, at the higher levels. So there's, they're trying to protect guys. But I'm also come from the old school where I used to thrive as a catcher. I love the collisions at the plate. So Buster Posey,
Ball in hand, bro. You could block that plate, bro. Ball in hand, I'm blocking that plate. I'll sit on the plate if I have to.
That's actually, I became a catcher when I was 4 years old. And everybody's like, how did you become a catcher at 4? You've been playing. Well, I had an older brother that was playing baseball, and he was a first baseman. So they put me at first when I was a little kid. I was a little bigger than everybody else. So my parents at that time said I was 5, so I could play T-ball or what have you. And I started playing, and they put me at first base. I was so bored. Every letter known to man medically was me. The nowadays, the ADD and everything else, they're true symptoms, true situations that people have, serious things. Well, I had that. So first base was not the place for me because I was distracted. And by the time, I got to get the first base. And then, when you're little, they push everybody, everybody's, who wants to play catcher? Who wants to play catcher? So I caught one in, and I was like, wow, I'm in every single play. So the next, who wants to play? I'll do it. And then they didn't have to ask anymore because I'd be like, hey, I'm catching. And it was my thing. Who wants to play? I'll do it. And then they didn't have to ask anymore because I'd be like, hey, I'm catching. Catching.
What up, T?
Adrian! Hey. Man, thank you for coming on the show, man. You're one of my heroes, man.
I wouldn't say that. Come on, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate you remembering me.
Absolutely. Like I told you, when I played ball, I was a catcher, so I was always big fans of the LSU catchers, man. And you were one of the ones who, national champion at 91, 93, and you were so fantastic, man, behind the plate and with the bat in your hand, and you were always an inspiration to me. And I enjoyed watching you play when you were at LSU. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me, truly.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean to interrupt. Y'all go ahead and finish what y'all doing. That's some great stuff.
No, jump in, ask questions too. I mean, I think it's a great thing.
Yes,
it's fun. It's fun. Reminiscing too. It's healthy for all of us, I guess, right?
Yeah. Has Dave or any fan left a comment about with Skip when y'all was struggling on the field and he would call y'all in, the whole infield in on the mound for a meeting, the kind of things he would tell y'all?
No, I'm gonna have to say the clean versions, right?
That's what I heard. I heard through the grapevine he was pretty blunt and pretty.
You didn't want those meetings. Let's just put it like that. You would take the, obviously you don't have a choice. You see him walking out, and we're like, oh God, and I'll tell you one of the greatest. And when I stopped coaching just a few years ago, and it was just because the age. It's time. Time is, I got to change. I got to do something else with my life in regards to, because I'm in education, and it was okay, you know, I did my time, you know, but I used this because of Skip. There was times that Skip would come out to the mound, and it was just, say, for instance, Paul Bird and myself, or Mike Shiraka, myself, or whoever it was, right? And he would come out, you know, and he would say, okay, just act like I'm yelling at you. He goes, so I'm going to go off on the umpire, but I'm going to be pointing at you guys, and I'm going to be yelling at you guys, but I'm, you know, just shake your head. And he would be going off, and the umpire can't throw him out of the game because he's yelling at us in front of the entire crowd. You know what I mean? He's not even facing the umpire.
Yeah.
And he's just letting him have it. And he, you know, telling him how terrible he is. And that, you know, you're terrible. I remember one, I don't know if you remember Harold Boudreaux.
Yeah.
So Harold is telling him, Skip, that's enough. I'm going to throw you out. He goes, what are you going to throw me out for? I'm not even looking at you. He goes, go ahead, throw me out. He goes, you won't ever umpire an SEC game, or you won't, because you're going to throw me out for what? For yelling at my pitcher and catcher? So, I mean, he was,
wow.
Yeah, he was brilliant in that. And I'd never seen anybody, not even when I played pro ball. I mean, I was blessed because I had some unbelievable coaches. I've always said growing up, and Rick Green had some of the same guys, you know, Louis Garcia, some of the same coaches. I mean, we're talking about Hall of Fame coaches since we were, you know, 9 years old.
Yeah.
So we knew the game when we got there, but then when we got there, we really didn't know the game, we thought. We were like, oh my gosh, because there was times that I remember Skip yelling from the dugout, Walker, take 2 steps to your left. Okay, and Walker takes 1.5 or 1. Or it wasn't big enough steps for Skip. And he's screaming from, 1 more. And he's just waving, yelling at him. 3 pitches later, ground ball right at Todd Walker. Where Todd Walker doesn't even have to move.
Wow.
That if he hadn't moved, he was going to maybe even have to dive because the ball was scorched.
Skip was the master, let me tell you.
You know, and even in the dugout, there was times, you know, when I was a freshman, I wasn't in the game. I mean, I did this myself when I was coaching. There's 2 outs, and the pitcher's getting ready to throw the pitch, and before the pitcher, he's in his windup, and Bertman starts clapping, and he starts turning to Dan Canterbury and Schmitty and Smoke, saying, "Hey, good game, guys, great job, great job." Strike 3, boom, and everybody's he knew that it was going to be the pitch.
Yeah.
And you're looking at him going, what? So, I mean, he like I mentioned earlier to Tyler. I mean, basically what it is. We went to LSU to get a Harvard education in baseball. Yeah. And we all say that. We all talk about that.
That's awesome. Great. That is awesome.
Right there.
Do you get to come down and go to any to the baseball games in the new Alex box?
Yeah, I've already been. Like this year, we went opening. My fiance and I and my daughter. We went. My youngest daughter. I have 3, okay. But my youngest daughter, she's graduating from high school. So God, I'm getting old. You know, she was accepted to LSU, so
nice.
She's deciding whether to go there. We went opening weekend, saw them against Milwaukee, right? It was Milwaukee. Yeah. Saw them against Milwaukee. And then my fiance and I went to Jacksonville and saw the tournament.
Nice.
So I'll be there at least 2 more times, and then I'll be for sure in Hoover, because that's only 2 hours from me.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So I'll definitely be, and you'll see a lot of guys there. I don't know. Do you get a chance to go to Hoover?
No, sir. Unfortunately, I've never had a chance to go, but it's on my bucket list.
Yeah, there's that it gets loaded up with guys, from Eric Berthelot, Brett McCabe, he lives in Birmingham, Nathan Dunn, a whole bunch of us live, within a 2-hour radius from there.
Nice.
So a lot of people show up for that.
Oh, so you guys get to visit a lot during that tournament.
Yeah. And then Todd is always on ESPN, and he's during the SEC tournament in his RV.
That's great.
And even David DeLucci. Do you remember David DeLucci from Catholic High who went to Ole Miss?
Can't say I have.
Yeah, Luch is there. I mean, he was an All-American, and he played in the big leagues for like 15 years. A great guy. Nice. He's also on TV, so he's there.
Nice. Well, Tyler and I had a conversation earlier. He asked me, did you ever go to the games at the old box? And I was like, well, yeah, I'm 55. Yeah, when I was, in my teens into my 20s, and then on until, they made the move to build a new stadium, I used to go often, You
can't compare the field.
And I'll tell you what, I love the new Alex Box Stadium, but man, I really miss the old box. That was just special.
100%. I tell people all the time, I think the only flaw in the box, the new box, is I think the team. Well, when I say that the only flaw is from the fans' perspective, and even the team, right? But we felt you guys were on top of us.
Yeah.
There was space, so it wasn't like we were being suffocated. But there was some feel to it. It was like you guys were right on us.
Yeah.
And the pressure, when you talk about pressure, if you're on the other side, that had to be rough.
Yeah.
Because now it is such a beautiful stadium, and there's so much room.
Yeah.
That as a fan myself, I'm watching a regular big league game almost, right? Yeah. I don't feel that I'm on top of the players. It doesn't, it's a little different feeling. And I wish that they would have, and I've talked to Skip about this, and a whole bunch of our guys, we talk about it. I actually, the one thing I feel bad for the guys about, if you remember when we would leave the box for the state, we'd leave the game at the end of the game, there was Bob's barricades or whatever little barricades that they had out there, that we would leave the dugout and have to make that walk into. Tyler, you never got to experience that, and as a fan, you would have loved it, right? So what happens, we would have to leave the dugout and go. It was almost like a one-way ticket to the locker room, and we had to go right in front of the fans, and everybody would sit there wanting autographs and everything else, and we had to go through there to get to our locker room. So, you could shake hands, the connection. We had a physical connection with the fans. And I miss that for the guys, because that was huge. We were able to connect, and then not only that, we were able to understand and be grateful for those moments. And I remember Bertman saying, I don't care if you went 0 for 4 with 4 Ks. That little boy and that parent that paid money to come here, you signed the ball with a smile on your face. Thank you for coming. Walk to the dugout. Walk to the locker room and deal with your emotions by yourself and your team. The fans do not need to know anything like that. Do your job as a consummate professional.
It's awesome. Awesome.
And that was tough some days. You have a rough game, and you just, let's just say it was Guidry, an example. Guidry on Saturday night, and he would have to walk right in front of and it's painful because you feel you left down. You let everybody down you're walking right next to.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, but you
Yes,
have to learn how to control your emotions and do what you're supposed to do. And that's smile, take pictures, sign autographs, and then go in the dugout. I mean, go in the locker room. And if you got to cry because that's how much it hurts, then you cry, but don't do it out there in front of everybody else.
Yeah.
Because they don't care about your problems right now.
Yeah. That's a great story, Adrian. Thank you for sharing that with us.
No, thank you.
I love it. It's the stories like that that are just so amazing, and you treasure to hear coming from a former player like yourself. One of my favorite stories about Skip is I heard from Ronnie Rance, and he said they were in the middle of a losing streak, and they were playing terrible, and so on a loop in the locker room, he would play that graduation song. Da, 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 da. Yeah. And all day long after practice, it was just on a loop constantly in the locker room until they broke that streak. When they started playing well again, Skip turned the music off and said, "Now y'all have all graduated."
Yeah. Tyler, you heard me say that about Fry, right? I mean,
Graduated.
Yeah, they graduated, and that's what he did. Yeah, he did that. Yeah. It was lovely because he didn't allow the equipment managers to put anything else on but pomp and circumstance. So we would walk in. It would never be shut off. Anytime you'd go in quickly to go to the bathroom and it's on. Yeah, you couldn't get away from that. I swear, I think
it would drive you insane.
None of us have gone to graduation probably to anybody except our own children's because of that.
What a great story.
Having to wear our stuff backwards, inside out, that was rough because we weren't worthy enough to show our we weren't worthy enough to show LSU stuff.
Wow.
And we weren't playing like LSU. So, we had to wear our practice stuff inside out.
That's amazing, man.
Great, yeah.
God bless him.
He had a way to, as I tell people, he was so good at these mind games that you ended up playing to prove him wrong. Yeah. So it was like us against him to some extent, I remember when he said that we're ranked number 1 in the nation, but we shouldn't be. That he voted us number 12 when he did the thing because he didn't feel we were that number 1. That the only reason is because of all the hype. And that was the era where, they have to do it by hand and send it in or whatever. So so when it came out, you saw that, when they put in parentheses how many votes you got, you saw that, we didn't get all the votes.
Wow.
So you're like, man, that's not cool. So you ended up playing to prove him wrong. Hey, you're wrong. We're gonna win this.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, man. We got 2 comments right here. Let's look what Tiger Mark dropped on the comments.
Sure.
We got Go Tigers, baby. Hopefully, after 16 runs versus Vandy and 7 against Grambling, we can get the offense going for the Oklahoma series. And we just need to relax and get on the same page offensively and defensively. But if there is something that concerns me, would be pitching at this point in time.
I agree with the pitching part of it. And Tyler, you and I talked about it quite a bit, in regards to throwing strikes. You can't fall behind. You got to be willing to challenge hitters.
Recently they've been issuing a lot of walks, and you can't win when you walk people that much.
Well, I've noticed that it's not just recently. If you go back and look, I mean, even back, a couple years ago, even when they win the title, the titles, it's almost like the analytics are playing into it to the point where they're putting, the analytics are putting the pitchers in bad situations. Not because the analytics are wrong in regards to statistically and analytically wrong. They're putting them in bad situation because the things that it doesn't take into account is the human aspect. Because the analytics could tell you, hey, if you hit a ball here, that's based on your speed and based on your, X, Y, and Z. That's a stand-up triple. But the analytics doesn't know.
We talked about analytics earlier.
Yeah. The analytics don't know if Friday night, this is Saturday, but Friday last night during the game, you felt a twinge in your hammy and you had treatment.
Yeah.
And as you're running, even though you feel good today, you hit that bag rounding second and you're like, no, I can't make it.
Yeah.
So the analytics said you should be standing on third and you didn't. When in reality is, if you would have gone to third, you'd be out the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And I think it's putting these guys in jams where a pitcher might even want to say, look, not here. I throw 97 miles an hour with some run. I don't want to throw a slider.
Yeah.
I just want to say, hey, here we go. It's coming.
Yeah.
Catch up to it.
Yeah. Great. Well, I got just one more thing to ask, and I'll turn it back over to Tyler and you to go ahead and finish things out. When you were catching, I imagine Skip called all the pitches, correct?
He did call all the pitches until we had a little quarrel.
Okay.
And
that was my question with him calling the pitches. How much freedom did you have to change things or stuff like that? So, yeah, let's hear about this quarrel.
It was with Sorotka. It was basically a situation where Skip was so good at what he did, and he put so much pressure on us that we got so used to things. But I was the type of guy that I studied the game, and I was very cerebral when it came to things like this. And I knew Mike Sorotka and I were really, I took pride. That's, and I guess what I'm saying, I took a lot of pride in my pitchers. It's almost like each one was like very close to me in regards to, I took, like, if they had a bad game, I took it personally. So so I knew what pitches worked, when they didn't, what I could tell them ahead of time. Hey, this isn't working. We need to do something else. And the one thing I'll give Bertman credit for, he always spoke to us in between innings. He wanted to know everything that's going on. Well, in this situation, we're playing State, Mississippi State, and Ronnie Brown is hitting.
Ronnie Brown, that name's not familiar.
He was one of their big hitters during that era, monster hitter.
It's like a heavyweight hitter, Ronnie Brown.
Yeah, he played center field. I mean, he was a great player. I mean, he lives in Tampa. We talk all the time now too. And he earlier in the game, right as the game started, I saw that Mike's slider, because Mike was one of the best pitchers I've ever been around in regards to stuff, consistent stuff. You honestly didn't know if at 3-2 he would throw you a changeup, because every single pitch he could throw for a strike. So on this day, I could tell right away, first, second inning, his slider wasn't there. It was backing up on him. Well, if anybody knows something about baseball, that becomes a BP fastball if your slider starts to back up.
Yep.
Well, we went in for 2 innings, and I was like, he's like, so what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling Coach, Coach, that slider, we've got to vacate it. He can't. He's not. He's struggling with it. It's backing out. And Soraka's like, yeah, I can't get a feel for it. I can't get a feel for it. And he goes, well, we'll just keep working on it. Because he wasn't afraid, Skip wasn't afraid to, forcing you to do it. Well, as the game progresses, and we have to win this series, as the game's progressing, he's still trying to force it, but now we have a huge situation. He calls the slider on with Bronny. The pitch was still not coming over right. And I knew what kind of hitter Ronnie was. So I ran out to Soraka, said, hey, man, we can't throw this pitch. He wants to throw a slider. So I said, I'm going to give him a second to think about it type. And then I went back. I looked back over, and this, when we did this to our chest, means repeat the signal. Like, just, I don't know if you can see it, So if you do that, it's at the time it was repeat, let me know again. And he called it again. And I stayed looking at him like, are you sure? Wow. Mike throws the pitch. True to what Mike and I thought. It backed up. Ronnie straight dead center. Took it out. And then Bertman lost it on us. And at that moment was, and I was young, dumb, and he got the best of me that day at that moment. And we were in the dugout, they were pulling us apart. And because I was so mad because you're yelling at us when we're telling you, you trust us, you want us to communicate with you, and then you're blaming us for this. And I'm like, no, that's on you. You did that. Well, that wasn't the smart thing to do. But once again, this is another thing that I loved about Coach. Nothing was said about it. I mean, it got really bad, really heated. I even threw my face mask down and just like, that's how mad I was. Nothing. This was on a Friday. Nothing happened. All of a sudden, Monday I come in, and Monday is a day that we walk through all the mistakes, and we have coaches meetings. And at that time, and I see on the practice schedule, because you have all the different things that we're doing, and it said Antonini, Skip's office.
Uh-oh.
And everybody's like, oh my gosh, let's see what happens here. And I walked in there, tail tucked between my legs, and hey, Coach, how are you? And he was kind of feet up, smoking a cigar, and he's like, big guy,
sit down.
Let's talk.
That's a great impression. You sound just like him.
Let's talk. So I knew obviously what it was about. And
tough guy.
I'm pretty scared. I don't know. Now keep in mind, I was 17 when I got to LSU. I was young. So at this point, I'm just like 18, 19. So I'm still like a kid as a junior, in the sense dealing with a Hall of Famer who we're all scared of in some way, shape, or form, that he controls my livelihood on what I'm going to plan to do with the rest of my life. And he sits back and he's like, A squared.
You do a great impersonation.
And I'm like, and he just like looking at me. And I'm like, Coach, I'm sorry. I let the bed, I'm stumbling over my words. I'm sorry for, I didn't. And he's like, no. You meant it. And I'm like, Coach, I don't know about meaning it. you said some things, big guy. I'm like, I'm sorry, and he's like, and he looks at me and he's like, you have some, what do you call them? Cojones.
Cojones.
And I start laughing. He goes, it took some testicular fortitude to do what you did. I respect that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, yeah, it's like he lulls you in. And I'm like, well, coach, I'm here thinking I'm home free. And I'm like, oh, coach, I was just upset, and I'm sorry, but whoa, big guy, double A, don't ever do that again. No. And he looks at me, he goes, go to the locker room and I'll see you in the pitcher and catcher meeting. And I'm not sure what this means because he always left you hanging a little just to keep you on the edge. So I was waiting, I swear, like 2 years. Is he ever going to go back to it? It's like it was hovering over me for the remainder of my career there. And obviously he didn't because he just forgets about it, but he deals with it. And he if he held a grudge, you don't know about it. He just would pencil you in the lineup, but I don't know if you've ever heard of the famous stories that we would always get. Once you're an upperclassman, certain things happen. So we would there would be a freshman always every year that said, man, I'm not getting the playing time, or I'm not getting the at-bats, or I'm not getting, the pitch. I know I can do it. All that stuff, Well, we knew, not necessarily why he wasn't going in the game, but we knew what would happen if he went and talked to Berkman. So we would be like, hey, man, coach has an open door policy, man. Go and talk to him. Go and talk to him.
Yeah, brother. Hey, just go slide in, dog.
Yeah.
Go slide in. Go talk to Bert.
So I'm like, hey, practice is about to start, like in about 20 minutes. Just tell him, coach, I need 5 minutes. Just, do you mind? We all would wait in the locker room when that would happen because we knew the face that was going to come through that door after this conversation. And it was one of the funniest things, I don't know what do you guys think would have happened? He got laid into, what he was famous for saying was like, big guy, or, why I'm not pitching you or I'm not playing you in the game? Because, I visualize everything. I dream about it. I smell the stadium. And every time you play, we lose.
That's a good one right there.
So he would come in and be like, he said that he dreamt that if I played, we lost. And the whole place would come down because you can't defend that. I mean, what do you got? It has nothing to do with how well you're pitching, how great you're hitting. It doesn't have anything to do with that.
Just lose.
At least the way he came out and told you. You have to change his dreams and his visualization. Somehow, I have to climb into his brain, and he has to dream at night that when I play, we win. How do I do that? You can't. So you just have to sit there eating crow and just wait your turn. But we all waited. We would all sit there, and as soon as a person comes through it, we all lose it in the locker room. Because we know what happened. Because you could see it in their face.
Like too, bro.
confused, absolutely confused.
His tail tucked.
You're like, huh? Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Man,
But-
these are some epic stories. Thank you, Adrian.
We thank you so much.
Hi.
He
wants
we
to
thank
say
you
hi.
so much for coming on, man. This is 3
Yeah.
weeks back
This is Ellie.
back to back that we killed it, man.
Yeah.
Ellie?
Ellie,
Yeah, please come back on later in the year, man, when the Tigers have it shifted in the gear, right? And we'd love to have you back on, man. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe get like some 3 Miami guys together, we have so many Miami. You had your Ed Yarnell, who's from South Florida, from Broward, Miami, and that area, Broward, Fort Lauderdale. Tom Bernhardt, who's still in the Baton Rouge area.
Okay.
Chris Chinea. I mean,
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, have like a whole bunch of Miami guys because I think that would be cool.
Yeah. I'll work on that. That's a great idea. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for having me. And hey, they'll turn it around. I really believe that. We need to lift these young men up.
Yeah.
Starting tomorrow.
You got it. Big weekend.
Yeah. Let's go beat Oklahoma.
That's right.
Yep.
Knock over that Sooner schooner.
And you got to worry about what kind of mindset Oklahoma has after being shut out by Southeastern Louisiana last night.
Well, I mean,
yep, that's a quick turnaround too.
Quick turnaround, but I mean,
the Tigers' favor.
I mean, we did lose, or we almost lost to Louisiana College years ago.
Yeah,
and then we did lose some games that.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like I've been saying, like I was telling Tyler, my fiance is a baseball whiz. I mean, I swear she could coach a team for sure. There's no doubt.
Next time she'll have to come on with you.
I am sure she'd be happy to come on, and she will sit there, and you're gonna be like, that's marriage material.
That's great.
One of the jokes that I told her when we first started dating, if this, and this, and this, what do you do in this? She said, you bunt. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Most people be like, most girls be like, I don't know, you just hit or no. She said, you'd bunt, you'd move the runners over, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
look at that.
That's awesome.
I'm like, I love you.
Well, hey, man, go Tigers.
Go Tigers, man.
Love you, Adrian. Thank you, man.
Thank you for having me
on. And like I said, you're welcome back anytime. So later in the season, I'll drop you a line and see if you and your fiance want to come on and talk about the Tigers again with us.
No doubt. I appreciate it.
Subscribe to the Boot Sports. And on that note, go Tigers. We'll see you tomorrow at the box versus Oklahoma.